Hey everybody, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett. We got an exciting episode today. Our biggest group of guests are here today to talk about youth sports here in the city of Farmington. Each of these organizations utilize a publicly funded facility. We want to hear from them, find out how you can get involved, find out how you can get your kids involved. Sports plays such an integral part on how we develop our kids, and certainly as adults as well. Those opportunities exist to put our passion back into our community. Great episode for you today. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome to the Mayor's Table. Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett with you today. And we've got a great group of local community volunteers that have joined us. This is the most guests that we've had on the Mayor's Table at one time, and I'm excited to have invited, and you guys have accepted that invitation, local leaders from our youth sports here in the city of Farmington. So I'll start with my right. Felina Thompson is wearing a couple of hats today, having worked with Four Corners Fast Pitch softball for so many years, and now also Farmington Amateur Baseball Congress, FABC. Nathan McCown with Four Corners Youth Sports. Thanks for being here today. Luke Tanner, who's our head pro at Pinion and Civitan, but also works with First Tee and PGA Junior and any of those golf organizations. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Chastity Dan, who's with the FCAT program here, our aquatic teams, utilizing our aquatic center for our swimmers. So thank you for being here. And Doug Mortensen, who's with our Four Corners Youth Soccer League, also the Farmington Youth Soccer League, correct? Or
Farmington Soccer
Club. It used to be FUSA, I think, back in the day.
Yeah, that was one. There were actually two, and we merged into one.
Awesome.
So yeah, Farmington Soccer Club.
Well, I'm just excited that you all accepted the invitation, and today's episode is really just a conversation about kind of the youth programs that are utilizing our sports facilities that are public sports facilities here in the city of Farmington. Missing today is the Boys and Girls Club, because we also have facilities there that the public tax dollars go to, but we're going to have them on a separate show. We couldn't get more than 6 on at one time, so that episode will be forthcoming. But I just thought it'd be great for our community to kind of get word from the local leaders of these organizations on, talk about the season, talk about the number of teams, talk about how people can sign up, and really for me is the importance that youth sports has played in my life and my kids' lives, my wife as well, and how that has benefited us over the years. So just a nice little conversation about it. Let's start over here, Felina, with we're now in wintertime. Obviously, we're not utilizing any of the Diamond Sports facilities, but we know those seasons will be upcoming here soon for both softball and baseball. Can you kind of give us a rundown of what those leagues look like? When do they start, and how can people sign up?
Registrations are actually happening right now for both organizations. They close at the end of February. We begin putting teams together end of February, early March. We begin practices middle of March, and games start the end of April.
So what websites work best for those?
Four Corners Fast Pitch Association for softball, and then for baseball it's just fabc.us. Perfect.
How many teams normally do we have? And it's age groups that run in both leagues from, is it 18 down to?
So softball has co-ed T-ball, which is your 3 and 4 year olds all the way to 18. And then baseball has 5 to 18. And then the senior division doesn't start till much later, but yeah.
Very nice. Well, that's a big part of obviously the summer programs here. We'll get a little bit into tournaments as well, but right now I just kind of want to talk about how can people get involved in that. So, great.
How they can get involved is everybody's always definitely afraid of being the head coach, but a lot of times I see out on the field, and personally for me in soccer, I'm out there on the field by myself as the head coach. We really need volunteers at the assistant levels as well. So you don't have to be the person with the main hat on, but we need at many levels through both organizations.
Well, I think that probably speaks to a number of the other organizations here. I cut my teeth coaching in soccer when my daughter, I think she was 4 at the time, and that was my first adventure into kind of coaching youth sports. And But I recognized, even after that, each year, just the cry that goes out that says, hey, we've got to have more coaches. If we don't get coaches for these teams, these players aren't going to have a team. All the other teams are full. It becomes a real struggle, and I recognize for folks a lot of, I'm really busy. I work a lot. My schedule may be erratic, but there are places that you can fill in within each of those teams to help support others who may be able to coach in that. So that is definitely a big part of it. I know youth soccer is going to be starting up here soon as well. Is winter the only time that we're not playing soccer? Because it goes all year.
Oh, we're playing right now. Yeah, so we have two main seasons, the fall season and the spring season, which collectively are considered like one seasonal year. Some players play fall only, some players play spring only, but we kind of run it as one continuous year. The teams, for the most part, stay together. And then in the summertime, so we probably take more time off in the summer than we do in the winter,
Oh, really?
to be honest. The summertime is more of, there's a little bit of academy kind of light training going on. That's about it, not a whole lot of team activity. And then in the wintertime, after everybody kind of settles down with the holidays and whatnot, we do have some indoor soccer training and academy activities that the indoor soccer game, well, there's a few of them, but we do futsal, which is probably the biggest worldwide, and I think the quality of that game requires higher skill than just banging a ball around against the walls like some. So anyway, yeah, we kind of go through the winter, just a smaller scale.
Where do you guys play futsal at? Where are these indoor? Are they privately owned indoor facilities, or does the rec center have space for those?
The rec center has not as of yet. So we have used San Juan College, which we are again. This is the first year we're using the Boys and Girls Club, and then we also use middle school gyms when they're available. It's kind of challenging with some of the other activities that they have to get a more consistent reservation in there. And just this year, there's a little bit of activity starting to spruce up at Empire, which is a new private business that is just great to have one more facility and location that is focused on making a venue available for the youth.
Sure, interesting. I didn't realize summertime was a larger, longer time off than in winter for soccer. But that's good. Well, I know there's been a demand for more indoor facilities, certainly to carry through practices. We've got a few private companies here that do have indoor facilities with batting cages or can be used for soccer, things of that nature. But the aquatic center is fully indoor.
Yes, they are.
Does the FCAT season, the swim season, go year-round, or how does that work?
Swimming is a year-round sport, and we offer registration all year round. Anytime parents can bring their child to the pool. Our practices run from 5:15 in the evening to 8 o'clock at night. So they can bring their athlete at any time and do a free registration or a free trial to get signed up.
Awesome.
But the aquatic center has been great. The city's been really good to us for the facility that we have to practice and compete. We do meets several times a year, and so it's been great.
So Chastity, when it comes to kind of your competitive areas or regions, I mean, do you guys, are you participating statewide
We are,
against
yes.
teams, or is there regional kind of associations?
Yes, so we are affiliated with both USA Swimming and New Mexico Swimming, and those are national and state organizations that we're affiliated with. So we do compete against the entire state, but we also do the Western Slope. So our club team competes against the Western Slope, so all of the Colorado teams, but with USA Swimming, we can compete all over the country.
Oh, great.
So
What age groups?
we do have 4 different age groups for practices and competing levels. So anywhere from novice to senior level is what we call it. And so you have novice teams, which is 10 and under, and then we have up to about 4 years old, 4 years old to 10. And then we, 11, 12, there's age groups, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 15 and overs.
What kind of volunteer opportunities are there with FCAT that you all are looking to fill?
So our organization is a parent-run 501c organization, nonprofit, and we do need board members. We also need officials.
Yeah.
That's what we call them in the swimming world, is their officials. And we do have stroke and turn clinics all year round. They can look for them either on the web, on USA Swimming website or our website.
Awesome. That's good to know. I want to get more into that kind of umpire, referee, judges type thing,
And
conversation as well here in a minute.
With our officials, it's good if they're registered with us, which is the club team, Four Corners Aquatic Team, and then they can also use it for high school swimming as well. So they can use their skills to help officiate high school swim meets.
Nathan, with Four Corners Youth Sports, used to be called Four Corners Yaffle,
Yes, we were Four Corners Yaffle.
which was Young American Football League.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, and I know football season's over,
Right.
but that doesn't mean we're not planning now for the next season.
Correct.
Would love just kind of give us a rundown of kind of when your signups begin and
Sure.
what you guys are
Sure.
looking for.
So, Four Corners Youth Sports, we transitioned from the Four Corners Yaffle, and when we began adding the track and field season into our program,
Oh, okay.
And we've kind of broadened our stroke, and we're actually looking at going down some other avenues, hopefully in the future, to pick up some different sports for the community and
That's
stuff as
great.
well. So, coming up, our track and field season will kick off in early April. We'll look for some signups for that going on within the next 30 days or so. Here, we'll get those kicked out, and can do that on our website at fourcornersyouthsports.org. Our track and field season, we typically run about 250 kids through that program here in the Tri-Cities area as well. Football season, we'll kick that off. Sign up registrations and signups for our football program should start off in late March as well, and we'll run that into the early June timeframe, end of May, early June. And then we'll kick off the season in early July with some conditioning camps, and then transition that into practices, and we pretty much coincide with the school year football schedule as well. So, and the football program runs about 1,200 kids throughout the Four Corners. We obviously work with Southwest Colorado, Southeast Utah as well, pulling teams out of those areas to put all these kids together and run a program. So,
I think that's kind of the cool part too, that kind of Farmington is kind of that business retail hub, but also it's kind of the sports hub when it comes to pulling all of those
Right.
Four Corners resources and teams and people together. A lot of that has to do with the availability of fields and the quality of those areas. But I in whether it was in soccer, baseball, football, golf. I mean, in Luke, does golf, is your reach also in the kind of the Four Corners general area?
Yeah, I mean, we get kids from all over, from Durango, from Kirtland, Shiprock, all over.
And for golf, are you utilizing any of the other facilities in Durango, Cortez for your tournaments?
For a program we do called PJ Junior League, in the summer we travel around the entire Four Corners area and play matches at different courses, and Hillcrest and Durango and Riverview and Kirtland and all the courses around here, and it's a
great.
cool thing because it gets them out and seeing different courses. And
Sure. Well, I think that's one thing I value a lot about Farmington in general, is just the quality of those facilities and the parks and, of course, the people. But I wasn't aware that you all had expanded into track and field, so
Yes.
that's excellent. You said 250 participants?
yeah, we run about 250 kids
What are
each
the
spring.
age groups there?
They range from
that?
second to sixth grade, and predominantly that's where our organization focuses, is in that range.
Yeah,
second
that'd
to
be the
sixth
same
grade.
for football then as
Same
well?
for football as well. Football
Okay.
and our cheer kids as well. So,
And the cheerleading component.
and the cheerleading component. That's right.
It is
So-
a full rounded.
yeah, our cheer program and we kind of call it it's a beginner cheer program, real basic, not a lot of stunting. We've got some great coaches and some great people to help us out there as well. So kind of get the girls and boys interested in that aspect of high school sports and stuff, and
Well-
start growing them.
So for what you're looking for right now with track coming up, is there volunteer opportunities there, people that you're looking for? Adults?
Most definitely, adults, coaches as well, assistant coaches, folks to come in and help our. Each one of the communities typically has a head coach of some sort, and then we obviously need a lot of volunteers under them. The big token with the track and field is running a practice. You get 50, 60 kids at a track practice, it's a little hard to wrangle them when they range from 2nd to 6th grade, obviously. So definitely some volunteers there would always help us out immensely.
And do you all utilize any other, do you use facilities like at Bloomfield schools or Aztec schools?
We do, yeah. We'll usually use the BHS track, or we'll use a track out in Aztec at their football stadium, or we use the Hutch here in Farmington for the most part. Kirtland will also use their field as well at times.
Well, we've seen a lot of those tracks get improved here over the past few years as well, so they are great facilities.
They are fantastic facilities.
Luke, for the PGA Junior, for First Tee, that organization in and of itself, just even the participation, I think, in golf has grown dramatically. Yeah. And how many participants are we looking at now?
First Tee through the year, probably 200 to 250, and then Junior League, probably close to 100 to 150. There's a lot of kids getting involved, which is great from all ability levels.
Right. And if folks were interested in getting their kids engaged in that, what do you recommend for them?
If your kid has never played golf before, I recommend First Tee to start. It's sort of a beginner golf class that intertwines life skills and golf skills, and sort of just gets them a start in golf, and they can, kind of gets them a baseline, and they can take that for wherever they want to go, on into Junior League, on into high school golf. They have a bunch of opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I think what's great, and because this is kind of each of these leagues have that really young component to it, watch them go all the way up into their high school years. For you all who have been in this for a long time, seeing some of those players who've grown up and watched their skills develop, and knowing that the hand that you've had in that, and your volunteers have had in that, that has to feel good. And when I talk to my kids, whether I was coaching soccer, baseball, or football, there was 2 words I used a lot, and that was attitude and effort. And that attitude and effort component has to go beyond just the players, it has to go to the parents as well. And I want to make sure that we kind of spend a second on that, because it's important to me, if we're going to talk about youth sports, the need to encourage people to be the judges, the umpires, the referees. And I know that there's a stigma out there because of parents who come to games very passionately, and they express themselves very passionately. And these volunteers who are out there, and I know some of these referees, the umpires, some of them do get paid, but for the most part, many are not. They are volunteers, and the coaches certainly are not paid individuals in these youth leagues. They are volunteers. There's a sign that used to be on a meme that said, if you haven't volunteered, you have no right to complain, or something like that. I can't remember. It was like posted on a backstop in a baseball field. But I want to just spend a second, if you all would mind, just kind of talking to me about what you do to, maybe encourage people to coach or referee, and then the training, and Chastity kind of talked about some of that a little bit with the officials for swimming. But what are your investments from a league standpoint into those folks to make sure that they kind of have the tools in the toolbox to do those jobs? And I'll start, Doug, you want to kind of kick it off?
Yes. So as far as getting parents involved as coaches, referees, typically the way that it starts is open registration for players. We see what our players look like. We see sometimes we have returning coaches. Well, we always do, but there's also vacancies. And then, like you mentioned, the emails start to go out, the phone calls start to go out, that we need people to just step forward and volunteer. We do have some trainings that we do at the beginning of each season, and try to give some continual resources and direction throughout. I think once that the seasons get up and going, it becomes a little bit more of a self-driven by coaches in terms of how engaged they will go in terms of their degree of education. But we are there to support them. With referees, it's kind of a similar thing, where we mostly pull from our own membership, communicating out to parents looking for volunteers. And like you said, they get paid, but really, like, referees are basically volunteers. It's the only way that we can get them to volunteer for the most part, is to pay them something to be willing to get out and do that. And if they want to get more information or get involved, they can go to fcysl.soccer, and there's a page there with the contact info to, get their name on the list, and that way, as the trainings and information start to get underway, they'll be included.
That's good. Flynn, is it similar kind of with softball and baseball? I know particularly there that because of the age groups, and this is the same with, I think, with everybody. I mean, you've got teenagers who are the umpires calling games for the younger leagues, and wow, I mean, they were even doing some of the middle leagues, but
That's so in baseball and softball, actually, the majority of our officials and our scorekeepers are pulled from our younger generation, from your high school kids. Even children or kids who don't play in the sports, they still are drawn to come in and, yes, make money. That is a big golden ticket for them, but learn something new, keep them busy, make some extra money for the summer. And that is one thing I would like to stress on, is having these adults and coaches sometimes yelling from the stands, yelling from the field, across the field at a 15, 16-year-old umpire.
right.
To please keep that in mind, is they don't have to be out there. Yes, they're paid, but they don't have to step out there. They're doing a great service for us.
Well, and the coaches, so much of this, and the coaches I know have these conversations with their parents like, hey, listen, let me handle those umpires. Let me deal with that. The big picture view as you get older in this, and I would hope that we should kind of share this, is that these aren't life or death moments in these games. And I know they're very important at the time, and you can get very heated on things, but we have to really keep things in context and recognize that we as adults are setting an example for these players as well, and for the kids who are in the stands, of what is the appropriate behavior to have in a youth sports event.
That's my favorite thing to say to these folks, is that I can promise you there are no scouts sitting in the stands at your 8U, 10U, 12U. There are no scouts here in Farmington watching those league games going on right now.
Right. But the need for well-trained umpires and referees is real. And there's a lot of resources, I think, that are out there. I mean, obviously there's state organizations, national organizations that are provide those trainings. But, when I first started coaching youth soccer, I mean, I bought a book from Hastings on, soccer drills and, different things, and it kind of drew out my plan. Now YouTube plays such an important role. There's so many great resources, and I would think from an umpire, referee, officials, there's got to be a lot of training, free training, that's just available online. Does anybody utilize that or push that out to their groups? Nathan?
We do, and I'll talk to our officials as well here. Fort Worth Youth Sports is extremely blessed, specifically with our football program. We draw from the same pool of officials that most of the high schools around here do for their football referees, and that has been a game changer for us in how we're able to operate our program. These guys, they may do a game on Friday night in Thoreau, wrap up at 10:30, and they drive up and they're here in our fields at 8 o'clock the next morning, ready to work 5 games for us in a day sometimes, and so they're all, we got the same guys working a second or third grade youth football game here in Farmington, and they're also officiating state football playoff games for us. So these guys, we're very blessed to have that group working with us. Fort Worth Youth Sports does pour into that. We help provide facilities for them. They meet, weekly throughout the year on Monday nights, and they do bring folks in. They're training constantly. They're going to trainings. They're aligned with the state and national organizations as well. So it's been huge for us. Obviously, we can always use more.
Right. No, there's no doubt.
But whenever you've got folks that are of that caliber, it helps us bring more folks in. We're getting kids that are 18, 19 years old that are wrapping up their high school football careers. They're looking for something to stay involved with, so they're either able to come and assistant coach with us, and then they may officiate as well on top of that. So it's been really huge for us to be able to do that and generate more really talented folks to start at the base level of the organization and stick with it. Because if we can get them back in, if they're staying in this community, they're coming back into organization. Whenever they're hitting that 24, 25-year-old mark and they're having kids, they're going to hit 30, they're going to come back and coach.
Sure.
And they're going to stay involved throughout. So, and that's what we're looking for, trying to drive that longevity with our volunteers as well. So,
You're just thinking about this component of it, because I can remember the first coaches that I had playing Little League up in Denver. They weren't parents. They didn't even have any relations to any of the kids who were on the team. They were just individuals who loved to coach and wanted to stay in the game. And as I've come up, I've noticed less of that. It's usually very much parents involved with their kids coaching those teams. How do we change that kind of dynamic? Or are you seeing it change at all in any way, shape, or form where it's just individuals, like you said, and I really like this component of it. Those kids who played sports in high school and then now they're out of it, those kids have such an impact on those younger players, and getting them involved on the teams, to be able to see somebody that you can kind of relate to more, and the energy that comes from those younger guys and ladies really is important.
Right.
And is there any type of outreach that your organizations do to kind of harness in some of that? I'm just wondering. And maybe this is just the message out there right now, if we have anybody listening that's...
We actually have a couple of young ladies and young men that have come back into both softball and baseball. I have a group right now in softball that they said, where do you need coaches? We're back here working now, need something else fun to do on the side, so we'd like to coach a team or two.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of kids that graduate high school and either go play college golf or go do something else that, you know, have played high school golf, that come back and they'll help us with our first tee program or junior league programs or whatnot. And, you know, those are the people that those kids relate to more than anybody, and they get excited when there's a 19, 20-year-old golfer that comes and helps us, you know. So it definitely is a draw, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it helps, you know, and they know just as much as any coach out there, because they've just been through high school golf or college golf, or
Right.
so.
I mean, age-wise, they're right there in that. They're not too far off from that second grader or the fourth grader. I mean,
Yep.
You're not that far off. Chastity, what do you see with FCAT?
Well, and with ours, with swimming, we see that a lot as well, where we have volunteers that continue to do it even after their athlete is out of the practice and out of their program. For instance, my husband right now is officiating high school swimming, even though we don't have a high school swimmer. But but we do also have, our coaching program does have to be certified through USA Swimming, which is an extenuating, you know, certification that has to be completed due to safety, you know, for being in the water and that kind of thing.
Right.
So once they get that, they tend to just keep doing recertifying, and they want to continue with it. And so you see a lot of affiliation with the city with the lifeguarding. So we have a lot of our athletes that are lifeguards for the city. So
I was going to mention that, by the way.
it tends to be a really good, you know.
It's a nice translation
yes.
from, you know, being on the FCAT team to the lifeguards, which there's still a shortage of lifeguards for anybody who's watching. If you are somebody who's interested in lifeguarding, we would encourage you, because we continue to expand kind of our aquatic footprint. And this summer, we do have plans to bring back out the aquatic park out at the beach at Lake Farmington. So
yes.
we need more lifeguards in order to man that safely, as you said. But you mentioned something about certifications, and I know particularly with football, having been a football coach, the background checks required for baseball, and I would imagine everybody has to have background checks now to be considered a coach in any way, shape, or form, or a referee. But for particularly with football, you have the concussion training you have to go through. Maybe there's another one.
So yeah, we've got you know, our alignment with USA Football. We've got concussion training, heat preparedness is a big thing, because some of them kiddos are, you know, they've been on summer break, they're not doing a lot, then they show up to play, you know, conditioning camp in football, and it's a game changer when it's still 90 degrees out in August and practice is kicking off and that kind of stuff. We also bring folks down from our middle school programs and our high school programs. We've got them embedded in our program well enough. We're kicking off this year some coaching trainings. So if you haven't coached football before, we can bring you in at a level that, you know, we'll work with you, get those volunteers in there. We can help you put a program together, not just from a, you know, X's and O's standpoint, but to run a team, to deal with parents, to handle issues, you know, and just overall team organization as well and stuff. So we, you know, definitely have a lot of avenues out there to get you up and off your feet and running, and hopefully we can keep you sticking with us for quite some time. So,
Doug, do you guys have any of those kind of training schedule, or particularly for coaches as well?
In regards
like
to
coaches camps maybe, or something like that?
Yes. So we have, for instance, toward the end of this month, we have coming up from Albuquerque, Rick Flores, who is the New Mexico Youth Soccer Association Technical Director, and he's also a national certified trainer or coach educator under the U.S. Soccer Federation, and he also is author of some of their curriculums. Very, very high able coach and coach educator, and so he's coming up February, it's the last Saturday of February, with all of our local coaches who are registered to coach at that time. We'll all be together in both a classroom session for a few hours, actually probably a little over an hour, and then out on the field. Anyway, yeah, we do.
That's great. FCAT similar, I mean, anything like that that's in person?
We actually have one coming up at our meet on the 20th. It's a Saturday afternoon. We will be doing a stroke and turn clinic.
All right.
So that it will get, that's the initial officiating start to get started as an official, is to become a stroke and turn official.
Interesting. Those are two terms I've never ever used in my, but I'm picturing it now. Right?
Yes, yes.
Stroke and turns. Luke, anything in particular with because the golf coaching component, it's a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, much of the match play is very much self-governed with the players and the parents who are involved there.
Yeah, and for volunteers for First Tee, there's a program that they can go through, or that they have to go through in order to help with First Tee.
Good.
But a lot of it is about, when you have 20, 30, 6 to 7-year-olds in a First Tee program in one spot, and a lot of them have never held a golf club before. A lot of it is just sort of having volunteers there to make sure everybody's staying safe and nobody's,
Right.
No,
I had a good friend
throwing
whose sister
clubs all over the place.
was swinging
Yeah.
a club around. So yeah, that's probably.
But
really
yeah,
smart
we
thing
need
to
as
do.
many volunteers as we can get, and a lot of the volunteers, like we talked about, are high school golfers or golfers that we know from the golf course that play a bunch, that already know a decent amount about golf, and then they go through the First Tee volunteer training, and they're helping out. But yeah, the more volunteers we have, the more kids we can have, and the better the program is.
Sure. I've always thought about this too with baseball. When I was coaching baseball, was more of a need for coaches clinics. Is there anything that's being added this year for FABC or for softball, both of those leagues?
We're trying,
Yeah.
trying to get folks to come in here and do clinics, and then we do have a lot of folks we can pull from our community, but it's trying to get multiple people on the same page on a calendar date is the biggest struggle.
Sure.
So right now our focus is on making sure when we have our annual coaches meeting that we're telling them where they can find these tools, and that they're listed on our websites where these tools for coaching, practices, examples that they need, they're out there, and then just letting them know that we're here. If you need us to show up to a practice to help you out, we're happy to do that.
Do we get any within your leagues, kind of any support from the high school coaches who come down? Obviously, Tom Yost, Coach Yost, is very involved in First Tee. But within, football, do we get any of the high school coaches coming down to help?
We do,
facilitate
yeah.
some
Both
trainings
schools have
or-
been extremely supportive of the program, and we do have some integration with the middle school coaches as well.
Okay.
And we get a lot of folks that coach at every level. There's the guys that are coaching the high school, middle school, and within our program also. So it propagates really well for us, I believe.
Baseball, softball?
They have their own clinics that they host that we advertise for them. The difficulty, once again, comes down to the calendar, the schedule for both schools in this area or in the Four Corners, and our schedules with all of our coaches and kids and teams, and some of those high school coaches are even coaching teams within our program. So
Yeah.
just they hold clinics when it works for them, and we advertise well for them.
So I want to get into a little bit. Some of these leagues fall outside of this because, at least I think they do, so you guys can correct me. But, for example, I know in softball and baseball, there are travel teams within the greater rec league, and I believe probably the same with soccer. You have some teams who travel and some who don't. And that's kind of an interesting dynamic. When I was a kid, there was Little League, and you played your Little League schedule, and at the end of the year, there was an all-star team that was picked, and that all-star team went and traveled. And now we've got organizations who, that's how they make their living, is basically doing tournaments for travel teams from all across the United States. But I think the recreational component is still so important. What we call, I would say, a developmental league maybe is how we've used that term before in the past for baseball or softball. We got to introduce the kids at some point, and not every kid's going to jump out there and be able to throw a baseball or kick a soccer ball at a level that's, would be considered quote unquote competitive as those leagues. And on football, I don't think there are any travel. I mean, I guess they do have tournaments.
There's some tournaments that come up late fall.
And then some of those teams will probably
some of them will
decide
travel.
to go to that. But the travel component for baseball, softball has really become a very interesting component to it, because in those situations, in a traditional recreation league, you've got a pool of kids, you've got coaches who want to volunteer to coach those teams, and then those kids are assigned to teams. Whereas a travel team is a coach with kids they just play together all year long. And a lot of times intermixing those two things can be very difficult, and it can lead, if you have travel teams participating with recreation league teams, sometimes it can be very lopsided when it comes to talent on that. So I don't know where I'm going necessarily with this question, but it's it's an important conversation that's happening right now, I think, all across the United States when it comes to youth sports.
Well, just like with soccer, it's finding that balance that works for what you have going on in your program. They have enough kids to draw on to actually do several different programs, whereas with softball and baseball, we're kind of limited. We can't really say, well, we're just going to have a competitive league. We're just going to have a true league team. So we've put in some checks and balances. Some folks like them, some folks don't. But we've grown in both organizations with that concept, and it's worked very well. So we are able to throw a traveling team in with a true league team with those checks and balances that each one of these groups is learning from the other. So.
Yeah. Similar with soccer, or how do
Sure, yeah. Well, I think, like Felina said, we have a lot of kids. We have over 1,800 kids, and that doesn't even include some that play in our league who travel in. With those 1,800 kids going from 4U, 5U, up through U19, we do have a variety of different levels that exist amongst there, and there's what we'd call like the grassroots level of just getting started with the sport. We have teams, I think we'll have 10 or 11 teams this spring that go down to Albuquerque and play there on every weekend. And then we also have a kind of intermediate league that we run here in Farmington, Four Corners, Farmington, Bloomfield, Aztec, Kirtland, that is what we call our Classic League. And that pulls from players on the recreational teams where they can play kind of as a secondary team, or this year actually we allowed them to play in that as their primary team, and they play on the recreational teams as well, and we kind of distribute those kids across some of the recreational teams so that the recreational experience doesn't seem so lopsided like you mentioned. And I think that it's been a good program for us because we have grown in participation year over year for probably at least 6 or 7 years. But I think that the recreational is so incredibly important, and that grassroots, because that's where you're going to find those players that you're going to later see in high school. High school players don't typically just start the sport in high school. Most of them have been playing for a long, long time. And so, keeping a focus on that base of grassroots and recreational while finding a way to develop, whether it's tiers or layers or however you do, so that as, players progress along there, we don't find ourselves down the road saying, oh, our base has been neglected, we kind of have to start over, we have to rebuild, So yeah, that's kind of where we have been with soccer for the last, 5 to 6 years at least, and I think it's worked pretty well.
That's great. It is so important to me, thinking about that. sustainability of the leagues, and keeping players funneling through there so that the leagues can keep carrying on, and the importance of having that very, beginners kind of part of it up to the advanced leagues and age groups, helps maintain that league in many ways. When it comes to the governing bodies of your leagues, I imagine each of you have a board associated with it. Does First Tee have a board?
First Tee has a board, yes. Yep.
And again, when we talk about sustainability, having a continual, board that's engaged and also has fresh blood coming through it, so that we can continue to encourage people to serve on those, because the boards make a lot of important decisions. And they deal a lot more on the level of dealing with parents' questions and coaches' questions and different things that occur throughout the seasons. How do you guys, are your boards healthy? Are you looking for board members? Is there opportunity there for people to get involved, and how would they do that?
We actually just filled all of our positions. So it's usually reaching at social media blasts. We need board members. If we're really desperate, we'll actually start picking up the phone and calling folks within the league. That's usually how we fill our board positions. Right now, our biggest thing for both of our organizations is finding social media people to promote us on social media.
That's an interesting thing too, because I need one of those folks. Because I don't want to do it. If somebody else will do it, that'd be great. So, I wonder, there's got to be high school kids or interns who would help do those kind of things. I don't know if interns work in a nonprofit sports league, but you got to find somebody within that league should be able to help out. And then they can call me, because I could use their help too. How are things with Four Corners Youth Sports?
Four Corners Youth Sports has been very blessed in that aspect as well. We've got guys that are very tenured within our board. We always are looking for more help, obviously. But most of our folks have either coached in the program or been on a board level for, 10, some of them 15 years. And they've stayed consistent, and I think that's been one thing that's helped us to maintain where we're at, and also see the growth we've seen and manage those relationships with the outlining Four Corners region. Is we've had the same group of folks, and we do things in a systemic manner, and we're consistent.
Yeah.
Because when you're dealing with, because we deal with other boards on a regular basis as well, that some of these communities have their own boards, and so they come in, they play with us for a season, and whenever you start dealing with that, it needs to be consistent no matter what town you're dealing with, no matter what kind of problem you're dealing with. But in order to get heavily involved as far as our board goes, what we do is we bring folks in at a coaching level, they coach for us, and then we'll put them up at like a town rep level. So a town rep is the guys you see out running the games on a Saturday. Those guys are setting up fields, tearing down fields, handling paying officials, handling any parent issues that come up at the games, medical issues, any of that kind of stuff. They deal with that. They get their feet wet dealing with that, and then we kind of promote up from there in that manner.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. First Tee.
Ever since I've been involved in First Tee, they've had a great board. I mean, really respected people in the community, parents of high school golfers, just kind of people that have been involved in golf for a long time, and some of those people volunteer in the First Tee program, so it's always been a good board ever since I've been involved.
Yeah.
So,
how's FCAT?
We change boards pretty often because our board can't remain the same due to athletes graduating or, no non-members. You have to be a member of FCAT to be on the board. So we're always looking for board members.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do monthly meetings every second Tuesday at the Aquatic Center.
I was going to ask that too. So monthly for you all. Flanna, you guys monthly for both boards?
In season, monthly, off season, quarterly.
Are these public meetings, by the way, for your boards where anybody can come and talk? Yeah?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Open meetings. Yes.
Open meetings. I don't know if you all advertise those or anything, or just kind of within the organization, people know, but Doug, you all monthly meetings?
We're monthly, and we usually always have a little bit of room for more help. Sometimes we have a lot of room for more help. Right now we're probably more in the little bit of room, but we also do see a bit of a cycle, like with high school, kids getting up into high school or beyond, and the parents that were involved in them kind of phasing out. And so we do need to have a continual process of, finding more people to volunteer and participate. And I think that's incredibly important that people step forward and help in those ways.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a great learning experience too, by the way. That's one thing I've come to appreciate so much is the different levels of boards or within the organization, whether it was a coach or on a board, getting that bigger picture view of what's really happening. I mean, listen, and by the way, I've been a coach who's yelled at an umpire before, so I don't want to be, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. I'm ashamed of that in hindsight in many cases, but again, now that I've kind of grown a little bit and understood the broader scope of that thing, I can look back and reflect on it, and it just gives better perspective, and you get the full experience of it.
Right, and I always have parents that come to me asking like what they can do to help their athlete, grow or get better at the sport, and that's always my response is become an official or come to the board meetings.
Yeah.
That you'll learn everything you can learn about the sport. So that's usually my response when they're wanting to encourage their athlete to grow or expand their capabilities.
Yeah. Doug, got a thought on that?
Yeah, again, volunteering. I mean, it's so important that we have affordable sports. I don't think we've talked about what sports do for the kids, but the accessibility of sports happens because of volunteers at every level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the more there are, the more kids can participate. That's key, and I'm glad you brought this up. So the affordability component of it, the accessibility of it. I mean, all these leagues that are represented here, boys and girls can participate in all of your leagues. Talk about the affordability component. What does it cost a kid to play soccer, or a parent? What does it cost a parent to put their kids into soccer?
To play like 2 seasons of local recreational or even the classic soccer league. 2 seasons of recreational is around $75 to $80. So that's close to 6 months of soccer. In some cases, there will be a uniform on top of that for another 30. Some of the organizations there, or some of the clubs locally, may have sponsors to help pay for that. But that's kind of the base level is in that $75, $85 for 2 seasons.
Okay. Chastity?
Novice group, if you're just an incoming swimmer, it's $60 a month to join our organization. There is a initial registration fee as well. I believe it's $25. And then we do offer through USA Swimming, they have an outreach program, which is great. It's a very minimal fee for USA registration. I believe it's only like $7.
Okay.
And you qualify with that by being on some type of state assistance or have proof of that to be an outreach swimmer.
So in that situation, that it wouldn't be $60 a month. It's the $7.
Yes, there's a USA Swimming registration because
Okay.
we are affiliated with USA Swimming, and so that is only $7. Without that, I believe it's $90.
Okay.
And then our program does do half dues for the outreach swimmers. So instead of 60, it's 30.
Okay, that's good to know. Luke?
First tee in particular right now is $150 for a 6 to 8 week program. But golf's a little bit different because kids can go play golf on their own as much as they want. One of the best things about this community, I think, is Civitan for a junior golfer. If they pay $150 and they play unlimited golf for a year. If they pay $350, that includes Pinion Hills and Civitan unlimited golf for them for a year. So, I mean, there's just a lot of opportunity for kids to, once they've kind of gotten their feet wet in golf, they can sort of take it as far as they want to take it. I mean, they can be at Civitan all day in the summer, every day if they wanted to.
And that's 18 and under?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, 18. And there are scholarships available for first tee. So those are available too. But, I mean, when I was growing up, Civitan was like my parents' daycare. I spent all day there, and there's nothing to say kids can't do that now. And
So-
I'm at each golf course every day.
Right.
And it's not a coincidence that the kids that I see at the golf course every day are the kids that are getting better and better and better.
Yeah, excellent. I wanted to break 90 last year, and I realized that to break 90, you have to play golf more than
That's right.
once every other week. You really got to put some time into it.
Yeah.
I think I may have gotten worse last year. I don't know. Nathan, for your leagues,
Sure. So our track and field and our cheer programs run 75 a kiddo
for the full season.
for the full season. That's right. And then our football program runs 150 a kiddo.
Okay.
The football program, you're going to get helmet, shoulder pads set up along with that, which, you know, if you're buying that stuff outright
It's
at Dick's
expensive.
or somewhere, it gets pricey really quickly. So that's one of our biggest challenges as a board is managing that equipment, keeping good equipment in store, keeping it reconditioned as often as it needs to be, and then also keeping our price points where the folks can come in and play with us. We've been extremely blessed by the businesses in the community. A lot of our teams, they'll fundraise, get their team unis, that kind of stuff. And we haven't had a season yet in my 12 years with Four Corners Youth Sports where we've had somebody come to us and say we cannot find a sponsor to help our kids out. And so we're very grateful for that. Year after year, these folks show up. No matter what the economy is doing around here, they show up year after year for these kids. And so we're blessed with that.
I wanted to get into fundraising too. 'Cause it's such an important part of
and
what keeps these.
One more
leagues
piece with
going.
us is we had historically done in-person registrations. We were fitting kids, putting equipment on them and stuff. We transitioned to an online only registration, and then we fit the kids afterwards once we get head count in. And then we'll also have payment plans available as well this year.
So no signups at Dick's Sporting Goods this year?
No more signups at Dick's Sporting Goods. Okay. No. Last year we transitioned to online only, and it was a bit of a change because Dick's would call me every Saturday for most of July and say, I got about 10 guys here standing here looking for you, So, well,
Right.
send them to the website. So.
Right.
But the online deal was much more accessible for us. We can get it out through the Facebook channels much easier. I think we had a much broader reach. So we definitely saw some growth because of it. So it helped out.
Flana, for your leagues, what kind of costs are we talking about?
They're kind of mirror each other. They range from 50 to 125, and it all depends on who needs which ones, which groups need officials. If they have officials, it's going to be a little more expensive for that age group. The younger divisions, we provide a t-shirt, equipment to the team, so it just depends on that. For when it comes to scholarships, it's because of the community that we actually are able to provide scholarships. So those businesses that you see, their signs, back of the t-shirts, they're not doing it for free advertising. They're doing it to help the kids out, and their donations to all of our organizations is how we provide those scholarships to the youth in need so that they can step on the field. We can go out and buy them equipment so they're on a same level playing field as the kid next to them on the bench. So I personally want to thank the community for that.
Yeah, fundraising is, I think a lot of parents, and I've coached for a long time, you get a lot of parents like, look, I don't want to do that. Can I just write you a check? Because I don't want to have to go out and ask people for money. And I understand that. However, the organizations, the individuals who each year, regardless of the economy, are always putting the money into these kids deserve a big thank you. We've talked at length here in the past just the impacts to nonprofits when you lose, companies like ConocoPhillips, BHP, P&M, that had just a big corporate role in providing a lot of monies to youth sports and other nonprofits. Well, guess what? All that's happened is we've had others come behind, or others who've increased what those donations look like. It's very rare for any company that I've ever worked with where a kid didn't walk in with a paper and say, hey, I'm raising money for whatever, that we didn't write them a check right there, or we didn't find a way as a corporation to provide an even bigger check in some way as a corporate sponsor. So certainly I encourage that because it's so important that we look youth sports for what it does for these kids over the long-term component of their life, teaching them those important characteristics of teamwork and resiliency and dedication and discipline, and at least I hope that's what everybody's getting out of it. That was kind of my hope as a coach. I know that's what I took away from it. Certainly my social skills and trying to build myself and to be a leader in my community, I think started in football, or it started in baseball for me. And so those things are important. And the corporations and the companies and individuals who say, look, yes, I get it, and I'm going to continue to donate, it's huge. And do your leagues put on any, I know the teams will do fundraising, events? Do the leagues do any fundraising events per se of any kind? I don't know.
We help our league when a coach comes to us and says, I'm struggling trying to find a sponsorship for our team to get our uniforms. There are things in our community, there's opportunities out there, so I usually send them to the VIP incentive program for one way to
No, that's great to
to
bring
kick
that up.
off with raising funds and get him started on how to do it.
Talk about VIP, because I don't think we've talked about that on the show, and that's a unique.
The
program.
VIP incentive program, I'm not on their board or anything. I'm not trying to promote
No,
that.
but
They've
it's-
just done a great deal for
Right.
the teams in our leagues. Is if it's also promoting the youth going out in the community and volunteering themselves in the community. So a team will go out, they'll go to the senior center, they'll offer to sit with the folks, clean up things, and the VIP incentive program, you just present to them what they've done, and they will do a donation back to that team, and then that's how and it's also, once again, because of the businesses in this community that donate to the VIP program.
So we've had our team participate in the VIP in the past, and trying to think, it was a big conference, and our kids just made sure that all the trash was taken out. That's what they did for a whole day, and I think we raised somewhere like $200, $300 for the team, and that goes a long way when we're talking uniforms, or if you're a travel team for travel costs. That's a big chunk of money. But there is like a playbook out there, I got to think, within the leagues to say, okay, here's some ideas of things that you can do. Raffles have become a real big thing for teams now to raise money, and I know during Super Bowl season, people will sell Super Bowl squares. I'm not sure if that's legal, so I'm not advocating for that. Just know these things are going on. And of course, you got your car wash, you got your bake sales, you got the chocolate sales, you've got, what other things?
Golf tournaments.
Golf tournaments. Oh yeah, that's been a big one.
Yep. Yep. First Tee does a couple of those a year, and golf tournaments are always a good fundraiser for any kind of organization.
Yeah. Anybody else doing golf tournaments for their leagues? Because I know high school
FHS
sports.
football does.
Yeah, the football teams do.
A lot of them.
Yeah, there's golf tournaments every weekend all summer long for those things. Any other kind of,
The Aquatic Center or the city has allowed us to do sign sponsorships for our program. And so any organization in the community can put up a sign for advertisement on the wall of the Aquatic Center. And so we offer that for $600 a year.
Interesting. Yeah. Lots of opportunity there. Nathan, anything else for?
Yeah, we've done some
sports?
similar stuff. Sign sponsorships. We have a similar scholarship program where we'll give away some extremely discounted advertising through our Facebook channels, our websites, that kind of stuff, to get some businesses to come in and help some of these kiddos that are looking for scholarship money and that kind of stuff. And then our board of directors, we all sponsor kids each season as well, doing that. So, and we would have quite a few different fundraiser, raffle type stuff and things whenever we were doing. We would have some tournaments up here. I mean, football tournaments are, they get a little far and few between, but we did have a season, it's quite probably, 10 years, 15 years ago, where we had quite a bit of that. We've tailed that off, but we're actually looking to do some more regional championship type things. We're working with a couple of different football organizations in central New Mexico and north central New Mexico to maybe look at bringing some of that back as
great.
well. So yeah, and obviously we want it centered here in this community, of course, because we don't want to travel, right?
Yeah,
but
Well, I know I did a tournament for football when I was in 7th grade in Vegas,
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
that's a big one.
Which was
It's a blast. Yeah,
it's a
it is.
So we kind of covered a great expanse of this. Scholarships was something. I know FABC has scholarships. How are those kind of divvied out? How do we determine who gets the scholarship?
So there's different, in FABC it's a little bit different than softball, but we do have scholarships for youth. I mean, I'm talking scholarships helping them with sign-ups.
Right.
But then we also, because of donations from the community, we have a pot of money that is specifically designated to just scholarships. And it's determined based on recommendations. So we have a recommendation based on a player that is playing for their high school, played in the Connie Mack, and played in the league, obviously, and then played in the Connie Mack World Series. And then some of the things that he's done in the community that it's been a recommendation to us that we should do a scholarship. So we've designated a scholarship. Doesn't know who he is yet, but that's to come later.
Okay.
And then we've also, FABC also does a huge scholarship, well, I should say it's more of a sponsorship to the host team. So it provides those things that they need to bring in other arms, because as you know, it's a very short transition for the host team who comes from FABC to be able to turn around and say, we've got to get, uniforms, different uniforms, we need all this equipment, we got to pay some other fees, we got to fly some folks in. So providing them with a sponsorship also helps. And that, once again, comes from donations from the community to be able to do those opportunities.
Tournaments. We wanted to talk about tournaments. And tournaments is something I think we would obviously like to see grow here in the area, as much as we can expand on the facilities that we currently have. But I know we have a huge tournament in October. Oktoberfest brings in thousands of kids from all across the Four Corners region. Is it just the state?
Four Corners region. So we have teams from Texas, Arizona, throughout New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Western Slope, and even cutting in toward the center of Colorado. Yeah, it's an awesome tournament, and I'm not an economist, so I can't put my finger on the value to the economy precisely, but I think that it really is something that just hits all these facets. It's good for the kids. That's first and foremost. That's why we do it. I think it's good for the economy, and it's just a fun and exciting experience altogether.
Well, I think economy-wise, if you think about all the parents and everybody who's coming with those kids, many times grandparents, sometimes siblings and friends, they've got to eat somewhere. Mm-hmm. They've got to stay the night somewhere. So you've got heads and beds in hotels. You've got restaurants that are packed with with those teams and their players. It has a big impact, I think, on those weekends. And I wonder, is there any outreach to those restaurants or hotels or anything to kind of, because sometimes you'll drive through and you'll see signs that say, hey, welcome, it's Oktoberfest. Are you guys doing any of those kind of things? Because I think that brings more awareness for locals to say, what is Oktoberfest? If my kid's not in soccer, how would I know what that is?
We have been, over the last couple of years, a little bit more. Previously, I don't think that we had, but we now have a few more restaurants that either mostly know about it, either because we approach them for sponsorship, or especially the ones that are nearby. We just say, hey, just so you know, you probably don't want to run out of meat by 2 o'clock this year like you did last year. There's going to be thousands of people on fairgrounds and the college, so be prepared. And they've appreciated that because it's good for their business. It helps to serve all of the participants and families who come in. So yeah, we're growing our efforts in that.
So we're going to put a little plug here for any of those restaurants that are watching this, the owners. Take advantage of the opportunity that goes on when Oktoberfest happens, and that's usually the last weekend of October?
Yes.
Okay. Which is a great weekend, by the way, here in the city in general, because there's so many events going on that weekend. But all right, well, good to know. Tournaments for FCAT.
We usually are able to host the long course swim championship, state swim championship, every 3 to 4 years. We're blessed to have one of 4 long course pools in the state. So it rotates amongst those 4 pools, and so we have to put in a bid with New Mexico Swimming every so many years to get that. We don't have any upcoming. We have 2 local meets coming up. We have one next weekend, and then we'll have another in June.
Okay.
Because we can do both short course and long course.
Do you all get any, when it comes to these tournaments, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, are we utilizing any of the resources and the staff there for these things? Felena's nodding her head yes. Yeah. Because they're funded through hotel taxes, the hotel fees, and so that anytime we can bring put heads and beds it benefits them. So I wondered if we were utilizing it. Felina says yes. Okay. Luke, tournaments?
I mean, again, golf's a
PGAs.
little bit different, but I mean, Pinion Hills has hosted state golf championships multiple times. It's kind of on a rotating plate, and then we've got junior golf tournaments in the summer. There's one at Pinion Hills, one at Riverview, and one at San Juan Country Club, and I believe they're consecutive days, so people can come and have their kids play all, and that's a little bit more of a competitive golfer deal.
Okay.
That's totally different than first tee, but kids that get into it and that are playing high school golf obviously have the opportunity for come to state golf tournaments, and then every summer there's that 3-day individual golf tournament that we have at Pinion Hills that's run through a state PGA golf organization.
Okay. Nathan, I know we touched a little bit on what you guys are looking to do.
Right. Yeah, we've definitely got some growth opportunities with that. Again, maybe a Northern New Mexico Championship weekend type of a deal, and we definitely have some interest in bringing some championship or tournament type football back, similar to what I think one of the challenges we have though is I think we need a lot more real estate in terms of than some other folks at the table here would need to run something over a weekend like that. So that's in our growth plan as far as an organization goes, and we will be reaching out to the city a little bit here in the very near future, because I think we definitely have some opportunity to grow that.
We got all
we're going to need the
we got
real
all the
estate to do
school
it.
fields.
So, yeah, we've got the school fields. One of our big challenges is lights.
Oh yeah.
And then our tournament season, when you look at football, specifically tournament season lands and it aligns well with NMAA state playoffs. And so trying to coordinate using any kind of a high school field, it aligns with how good our boys are doing in the high school each year, So it makes it a little bit tough to plan, but we would definitely need something with some lights and stuff in the future and stuff. So we've got some good talking points and some goals we've got laid out before us to get some of that pulled back up here. So
As a kid, the Denver Zephyrs played at Mile High Stadium, and so you had a baseball field and a football field. So maybe we could play football and baseball field.
we've done that. Actually,
There's lots of lights out there.
We've done it in the back of a lot of softball fields.
I just made every recreation person for the city of Farmington go, you make the mayor stop talking.
Yeah.
Felina, obviously lots of great things. You have grown a particular softball tournament. The Kathy Rouse tournament has been a huge success here in the area. And it's not the only one that you do, obviously, but talk a little bit about that.
Kathy Rouse is Memorial Day weekend, and I actually work with other entities in the area. I work with the River Reach so that I can start promoting the stuff that they're doing out there during the Memorial Day weekend. I start pushing it on our site so that our teams will go over there when they're not playing.
Oh, great point.
The Kathy Rouse has grown. I maxed out, and when I say maxed out, I mean I would take as many teams as I could, but I maxed out on facilities. So I don't have enough facilities to add more teams. So I maxed out at about 65 teams, and that's pushing it. More than half come from all over the west half of the United States. And that's from 8U to 18U that we do that tournament. And then a couple weeks later, baseball, we've brought back some tournaments for baseball. It's growing a little bit every year, and that's a good thing. Then we'll have the Father's Day tournament for baseball. That is the badges in baseball. All funds from that, which is the more you grow, the less you get back. You don't have like that little chunk of change coming back into your leagues. So the more you grow, the less you make. But badges in baseball, we were able to make a donation back to what they wanted, which was I'm sorry, I forgot what entity. I'll come back to that.
That's okay.
And then the weekend after that, then we come to the Summer Blast, the Felina Thompson Summer Blast softball tournament. That is also starting to grow on me. I think I had 58 teams last year,
Wow.
so that's also starting to grow on me. I do have to compete with the Goliath tournament down in Cruces, but what's nice about that is the Albuquerque teams, they'd rather come up here, they say, so. I probably shouldn't say that, but anyways, it's a promotion
Plug away.
for us. And then the weekend after that is the Danny Carpenter Memorial Tournament for baseball. And then every other year, we actually do get the state tournament for the girls for 8s, 10s, and 12s. And we get that back again this year, and that will be July 14th, 15th, and 16th. And that also has about 60 teams, because that's where everybody in the state wants to come. And then I'm allowed to allow the Northern Colorado teams who participate in our league to also participate in the New Mexico USSSA state tournament.
Okay. And there's so much opportunity, I think, and that's the great part. And that's kind of why I wanted to have all of you here at one time, is to be able to show, this community, the opportunities that are out there for young people, for adults, for teenagers, to get them engaged and get them outside doing something, or in the pool doing something. I mean, it's just, idle hands are not good. And sports has played an important role in my life in keeping me active and engaged, and just even the social component of it, I think, is so important. So I want to close with this. I just want to, if you guys could just kind of elaborate on that, what your leagues, when you talk about why you're there, what your mission is, what is your purpose? I mean, why are we doing what we're doing out here every year? Because it's not easy, right? But it is worth it. That is the thing. It is totally worth it. So, Doug, we'll start with you.
Okay. So, I think I probably would speak for most of the participants in our organization, and I would think the same with all of us. It's all about the kids. It's all about being able to give to every kid an opportunity to have an experience that gives them so many aspects of health: physical health, social health, emotional health. It teaches them skills, and bringing them together regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of demographics, all these kinds of things, like all that's thrown off the table. They come together, they're part of an organization, they're part of a team, we work together, and we grow, and they have these experiences. I could go on and on about individual kids who, as they got involved in the sport, their anxieties that they've been struggling with at home or in school have become under control and almost non-existent, and parents talking about how, wow, my kid is like a normal kid again. And so, those things are all there. But I mean, just the amount of positivity, the health that the kids get. And of course, there's the future leadership as an adult. I mean, most business executives in the corporate world today, they played sports in high school or in college. And regardless of whether you play in college, and regardless of whether you're in the bigger corporate world or you're in the small business world or whatever, there's so much that you gain that builds your character and your abilities, as a person going forward through sports. So,
Matthew, you said it.
Yes, he did. Right. He sure did. Well, with swimming in particular, we do also, our program helps with a life skill. It's an absolute life skill, and not only promotes good mental health, but also flexibility, all different types of physical health as well. And then we also cater to some special needs, because
sure.
it is such a great sport for them. And so I've been happy to be part of this sport.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of echo what they said. I mean, I'm just kind of proud of, kids having the opportunity, in golf in particular, to, those that have never seen a golf club in their life have the opportunity to go try it, and those that love it have the opportunity to go get as good as they want to get at it. And, golf and all sports just kind of mirror life as a whole. It teaches them to set goals and try to get to that goal, and set the next goal, try to get to that goal. And I don't know, it's good that everybody has that opportunity here. I mean, they have, keeps them off screens. There's no excuse to be looking at a screen all day. There's
right.
opportunities to, for every level of participant, I think.
I think that's important too. We talk about coping skills and the need for us to develop coping skills in our young people. When you play sports, you've got to learn to cope with a number of different things. Golf for me I have trouble coping with golf because it's so frustrating. But mentally, you have to build up that mental strength to overcome those obstacles. And you hit a point, whether it's trying to, my son's a baseball player. He's so frustrated with how he finished last season. But you have to learn to shut that off so you can focus on the next thing. How often as adults is it the same thing? Now, there's frustrating moments that happen all the time, but you have to be able to move away from that and make sure your attitude's in check to go on and do the next things. You learn so much of that in doing sports.
Yeah, and I mean, in the exercise factor too, I mean, golf's not as on that radar as, football and other things, but I mean, those kids go out to Civitan and play 18 holes. They don't really realize they're just walking 4 miles and carrying a bag on their back or pulling it. You go to Pinion, it's 7 or 8, and they don't realize they just did anything because they're having fun,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of facets to it.
Right. Definitely. So, just to kind of reiterate what they say, we're here for the kiddos. At the end of the day, that's what we're here for. And just as much for us and our organization is we're proud to see state champions. We're proud to see folks signing, D1, D2 scholarship opportunities, that kind of stuff. But we're also as equally, if maybe even more proud when we see kids come back to the program. They come back and they help their community. They come back and they coach. And they are displaying the same character qualities that they were taught whenever they were going through the program. And we kind of internally with us, we're here for every kiddo, but there's certain kiddos that need the program more than the program needs them at the end of the day. And those kiddos are what make you the most proud sometimes, because you see where they come from and then they get so far in life and they come back, and it's really, you've seen it too. You'd be standing in the grocery store and someone comes and say, "Hey, coach."
I know, man.
I'm known by coach.
Chills, man.
You know what I mean?
That's my favorite
You're
time.
known by coach more than you are anything else, and it's a really good feeling. So that's what keeps us going. It drives us every year. So.
No, that's such a great point. Lena?
Same thing they all said, but I would like to say is one thing that COVID did for everyone, including us, was magnify that these organizations are very much needed, not just for the physical, getting them ready for those next stages in life, but also their mental portion. I saw many children fall through the cracks and have a very tough time during that time. And having these opportunities was what was the most important.
Absolutely. Well, we got to get from behind our screens. We got to stop staring at those things because it's not doing us any good. And that goes for adults as much as it does for kids. And I've said this on my radio show many times, that I may be more concerned about the lack of parenting happening because the parents are staring at their phones than I am about the kids who are just emulating what their parents are doing. Yeah. And so as adults, we have opportunities to go out in the community and share our passion with people and kids and organizations that really make this community run. So that's a very good point.
We are a unique community as well. I do have to say that. I've had many folks from across the United States say, "What are you guys doing there?" Not just with softball and baseball, but with all of our sports, because everything that we've done league-wise, recreation-wise, it's just we can't get kids to participate, can't get folks to do anything. So we're very unique here, and we're very special, and I thank all of you guys for everything you do as well.
No, you're all ambassadors. I hope you understand that. I mean, you are ambassadors for our community and for our kids, and we have to keep talking about it. I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to be vocal and encouraging, and anytime you see a kid, like, "Hey, what are you doing? What sport are you playing? And what other things are going on in your life?" and just encourage them on that end. And I know obviously there are other extracurricular activities out there and organizations that are supporting our youth in many various ways. But I wanted to have this talk with all of you because it's played such an important role in my life and the people that I see who are in leadership positions, and I want to encourage that. I think it's a good thing. So, hey, thank you again. This has been great.
Thank you.
Any other final words or anything else that we didn't kind of hit on? Okay. Well, we'll make sure that what we're going to have on the show. We'll post the websites, make sure everybody knows where to go to sign up, and this has been great information, so thanks again. And thank you for tuning in today. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and there's so many opportunities out there to get our kiddos involved and get us as adults involved in things that really help motorize this community and keep us moving forward. We hope you're taking advantage of that. If you're interested in these organizations and their missions, please check out their websites, get more information, and get involved in your community. Thank you again for joining us on today's Mayor's Table. We'll see you here next time.